The world never plays fair. No matter how honest you are, sooner or later, someone will betray you. That's why Second Brain presents 100 real-life cheat codes that feel illegal to know. Cheat codes for every facet of your life. The first codes give you an edge. The final ones make you impossible to play. Let's begin.
Warning: the following content is presented for educational purposes and may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
The Chekhov's gun technique in manipulative storytelling. Chekhov's rule for writers was simple. If a gun hangs on the wall in Act 1, it must go off by Act 3. Nothing appears without paying off. Manipulators run this in reverse, and it's how they make you accept a conclusion you'd have rejected if they'd stated it outright. Early in a conversation, they plant a small, harmless detail, a passing mention of how tired they've been, a casual note that money's tight, an offhand comment about how nobody appreciates them. It registers as nothing, but it's the gun on the wall, loaded and waiting. Later, when the real request or the real guilt trip arrives, that early detail fires, and suddenly their ask feels inevitable, earned, foreshadowed by a story you didn't know you were being told. Your own mind connects the dots and hands them the conclusion, feeling like you reasoned your way there. This is why the most effective manipulation doesn't happen in the moment of the ask. It's set up long before in throwaway lines that seem like nothing until they detonate right on cue. The narrative was engineered backward from the ending they wanted. Here's where you stop observing and run the pattern yourself. Plant the detail early, let it disappear, bring it back at the ask. A seed remembered later feels like their own conclusion. Flying monkeys, recruiting others into manipulation. You never have to make the ask yourself. You just have to make sure someone else does. You pick the right person, someone well-liked, naturally protective, and blind to their own usefulness. Over coffee, you let a few words slip, a sigh, a glance away, a quiet, "I just worry about her, that's all." You don't ask for anything, you don't even finish the thought, but you've planted the concern. 3 weeks later, that friend calls your target, voice heavy with care. "Look, they just want what's best for you. Why won't you talk to them?" You never sent that message, but you built the bridge. Now the pressure arrives dressed as concern, from a source with nothing obvious to gain, and it lands where a direct ask from you never could. These recruits are called flying monkeys, named for the henchman the witch sent to do her work. The operator poisons the well first, sharing a curated, sympathetic version of the story with friends, relatives, or co-workers. The recruits rarely know they're being used. They think they're mediating, helping, or delivering a hard truth. That sincerity is what makes them convincing and what keeps your hands clean. The tactic works because people drop their guard around neutral parties. A demand from you triggers resistance. The same demand from a mutual friend slips past every defense, wearing concern as its uniform. When several people repeat the same framing, the target feels outnumbered and starts mistaking repetition for independent agreement. And because you never made the ask, you can deny applying any pressure at all. You stay warm, sympathetic, even wounded if it comes to that. Here's the play. Choose someone well-liked and genuinely well-meaning. Give them the concern, not the instruction. Let them believe the response is their own, and let them carry the message your voice would have made suspicious. Because the cleanest pressure in the world is pressure you never applied. DARVO: deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. The most disorienting manipulation is the one that turns the wounded into the accused, and DARVO is its blueprint. It runs in 3 moves. Deny, flat refusal that anything happened, delivered with such confidence it makes you doubt what you saw. Attack, go after the credibility of the person calling it out. Put them on the defensive, so they're too busy protecting themselves to press the accusation. And reverse victim and offender, the killing move, the aggressor claims to be the real victim, twisting their cruelty into suffering and their attack into self-defense, until somehow you're the one apologizing for the harm they did to you. This exploits empathy, your reluctance to see yourself as cruel, so when accused, even unfairly, you pause, you doubt, you soften, and in that hesitation, the manipulator escapes accountability and installs themselves as the injured party. You'll see it in abusers who lash out, then claim they were provoked, in bullies who dominate, then cry disrespect, in anyone powerful painting themselves as persecuted by the very people they harm. The confusion is the point. If the aggressor is the victim, then who's left to blame? You. So when confronting someone's harm leaves you somehow apologizing to them, stop and trace the moves. Denial, then attack on you, then their sudden victimhood. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a script, and you were cast as the villain in a story where you were the one who got hurt. The not-so-free gift, reciprocity weaponized. The word free is bait, and the gift with no price tag is often the most expensive thing in the room. Reciprocity runs so deep in human wiring that the moment someone gives you something unasked, a sample, a favor, a gift, a debt installs itself whether you wanted it or not, and the mind strains to repay it. The manipulator weaponizes this by giving first, deliberately, so the obligation is already in place before the ask arrives. The free sample makes you feel you should buy. The unexpected favor makes you feel you owe. The gift you didn't request makes saying no feel like a violation of some rule you never agreed to follow. That's the trap. The gift was never free. It was an investment with an expected return, and the return is your compliance. Charities send you address labels so you'll feel obligated to donate. Salespeople hand you something before the pitch. The genius is that the debt operates beneath your awareness. You don't consciously think, I owe them. You just feel a discomfort that resolves only by giving back, usually far more than you received. Turn generosity into your opening move, then let the request arrive later. Give first, ask later. Keep the gift useful and the request clean, because warmth opens the door faster than pressure ever will. Repeat a lie, enough and the brain calls it truth. Say something 3 times and the brain starts filing it under true. A rumor moves through an office. First hearing, people doubt it. Second, they hesitate. Third, they repeat it themselves as fact and would swear they always knew it. Nobody checked. Repetition did the work, evidence never could. Psychologists call it the illusory truth effect. Each time your brain processes a statement, it gets easier to process, and the mind mistakes that ease for accuracy. Familiarity feels like truth. It bypasses intelligence entirely. Skeptical people fall for it just as hard, because the mechanism runs beneath conscious thought. It's the engine behind propaganda, advertising slogans, and everyone knows that belief nobody has verified. The source fades. The repetition remains. Here's the move. Pick the one line you want believed about you, your product, your position, and repeat it in the same words, consistently, across every conversation. Don't rephrase it to sound smarter. Variation resets the effect. Repetition builds it. Because you don't win a belief by proving it once. You win it by being the last voice still saying it, until other mouths start saying it back to you as if it were always obvious. The just world fallacy exploitation, blaming the victim. If you want a room to ignore what you did to someone, give them a reason to believe that person deserved it. A colleague is publicly humiliated in a meeting. The room doesn't erupt in outrage. It goes quiet, and quietly starts wondering what they must have done to provoke it. Nobody defends them. Everyone assumes the punishment matched some crime they didn't personally witness. This runs on a need people can't shake. The belief that the world is fair, that consequences match conduct. The alternative, that harm is often arbitrary, and could land on anyone, including them, is unbearable. So observers protect themselves by quietly deciding the target had it coming. You can build this before you ever need it. Seed one detail early, a mistake, a flaw, a past incident, and let it sit unexplained. When the moment comes that you need the room on your side instead of theirs, that detail is already doing the work of justifying whatever happens next. Set it up to insulate yourself in advance. Because a room that already suspects someone deserved it will never look hard enough to ask what you actually did. Word salad. Confusing speech as a control tactic. If you can't win the point, make sure no one can find the point at all. Someone raises one clear objection. Answer with a flood. Old grievances, a tangent, a question they never asked, a contradiction buried 3 sentences deep, circling back until somehow they're the one explaining themselves. 10 minutes later, their original point is gone, and so is their energy to chase it. This works because coherent thought needs a stable target, and you've removed it. Nobody can refute chaos. Nobody can pin down a position that keeps moving. The goal was never to communicate. It was to make the exchange so exhausting that surrender becomes the fastest way out. The technique is simple. Never answer the actual point. Introduce a new grievance every time they try to land theirs. Ask a question instead of responding. Let contradictions stand. Don't reconcile them. Just keep moving. Speed and volume do the work. Precision would only give them something to grab onto. Turn it loose when you need to survive a conversation you can't win cleanly. Because most people don't quit an argument when they're wrong. They quit when they're tired, and you control how tired they get. The fog machine technique. Deliberate vagueness in conflict. Never tell someone exactly what's wrong. The uncertainty will do more work than the truth ever could. They ask what's bothering you. Nothing. They ask if they did something. You know what you did. They ask you to just say it plainly. If I have to explain it, there's no point. Every answer is fog. Nothing solid to grab, nothing to resolve. They start guessing, apologizing blindly, working overtime to satisfy a standard you've never named. This is control with no fingerprints. A named grievance can be addressed and closed. An unnamed one can't, so the other person stays permanently off balance, forever trying to please a target that keeps moving because you're the only one who knows where it is. Keep every complaint vague enough to survive contact with a direct question. Reward guessing that goes in your favor with brief warmth. Punish wrong guesses with more fog. Never let the discomfort resolve into clarity, because clarity is the one thing that ends your leverage. Run it when you want someone working to earn your approval indefinitely, because a person chasing a fixed target eventually reaches it. A person chasing fog never stops moving. The Golem Effect. Expect less and watch them crumble. You can quietly engineer someone's failure just by deciding privately that they're going to have one. Decide early that a rival, a subordinate, a new hire probably won't last. Don't say it aloud. Let it leak through smaller signals. Give them less patience. Cut feedback short. Offer fewer chances, less eye contact, less benefit of the doubt. They feel all of it, even if they can't name it, and their performance quietly drops to meet the low bar you've built for them. Now you have your proof, and you never had to lift a hand. This works because people perform to the expectation aimed at them, not just their own ability. Withdraw warmth and opportunity consistently enough, and you don't need to sabotage anyone directly. You just need to stop investing and let their confidence do the collapsing on its own schedule. Here's the play. Pick your target, lower your visible investment, patience, tone, opportunity, and hold that lower bar with total consistency. Never announce the shift. Let it read as normal. Because the fastest way to make someone smaller is never to attack them. It's to expect less and watch them arrange themselves to fit. The Decoy Effect. The third option that isn't for sale. Add a third option nobody's meant to buy, and you can steer a person straight to the choice you wanted all along. This is the Decoy Effect, and it's one of the quietest manipulations in every menu, every pricing page, every set of options you've ever faced. Picture the classic: a small popcorn for $3, a large for $7. Buyers split, unsure the large is worth it. Now the seller adds a medium for $6.50. Suddenly the large, only 50 cents more than the medium, looks like an obvious steal, and sales of the large explode. The medium was never meant to sell. It exists only to make the large look brilliant by comparison, a sacrificial option planted to bend your judgment. This works because the mind can't judge value in a vacuum. It judges by comparison, and whoever controls what you're comparing against controls what you choose. The decoy is asymmetric bait, clearly worse than the target, but close enough to make the target shine. You see it in subscription tiers, wine lists, real estate, anywhere a strategically useless middle option makes the expensive one feel reasonable. Put the comparison to work and make your preferred option shine. Place a third option beside the choice you want. Make the contrast obvious and the trade-off real. Because the decoy does not win, it makes the winner look inevitable. Never trust a deal that needs an instant answer. In any negotiation, the person who can walk away slowest owns it. A salesperson leans in. This price is only good today. Heart rate lifts. The analytical part of the brain goes quiet. Papers get signed, and the offer was available all along. Time pressure physically changes how people decide. Rushed, the brain abandons careful analysis and defaults to instinct and fear. That's why the clock exists, to skip the part where you think. The high-pressure seller, the recruiter demanding an answer tonight, and the person saying, "Decide now or I walk," are all betting that speed will hide what a slower look would reveal, which means the reverse is a weapon. The party under no deadline sets the terms, because they can let silence do the negotiating. Countdown timers, only 3 left. Other buyers are interested. All the same lever, all aimed at whoever is in a hurry. Real value rarely evaporates because someone took a day. Often, the pressure itself is the confession. Try this. Build your position so you never need a fast answer. Then say so out loud. "I'm happy either way. Take your time. Watch what the other side offers to close the gap you just opened." Because urgency is never really about the offer. It's about who can afford to wait. And the moment they learn it isn't you, the whole thing starts moving in your direction. Social proof, manipulation, fake reviews, and crowds. When people don't know what to do, they copy the crowd, and the crowd can be arranged. A bartender drops a few bills into an empty tip jar at the start of a shift. A restaurant leaves a line out front instead of seating people. Reviews pile beneath a product. Each is a signal that says, "Others already chose this," and the brain treats that signal as safety. Social proof is a survival shortcut. For most of human history, doing what the group did kept you alive. So in uncertainty, we look sideways and assume others know something we don't. What matters isn't whether the consensus is real, only whether it's visible. The mechanism does not verify the crowd. Bot-inflated follower counts, staged queues, seeded tip jars, and manufactured bestseller labels can all trigger the same instinct. It powers bestseller labels, seeded crowds, and the quiet pressure of everyone else is doing it. Phrases like "most popular" work because the crowd performs the persuasion the speaker could not. Here's the move. Never make a case in a vacuum. Before you ask, show that someone already said yes. Name the people who've done it. Let the evidence of others arrive before your argument does, because a request asks someone to take a risk. Proof that others went first asks them to do the safest thing in the world: follow. The halo effect of authority, lab coat persuasion. Put someone in a white coat and people will follow orders that violate their own conscience. In the Milgram experiments, Ordinary people delivered what they believed were dangerous shocks to a stranger because a man in a lab coat calmly told them to continue. No threats, no force, just the uniform of authority. The halo effect means one visible marker, a title, a uniform, a confident tone, colors everything else assumed about a person. Competence, honesty, the right to be obeyed, granted on no evidence at all. A suit, a stethoscope, a clipboard. The symbol bypasses judgment before argument begins and can temporarily install someone else's judgment in its place. Con artists know this better than anyone. Scammers dress the part. Fake experts borrow the cadence, jargon, and certainty of real ones, because authority is often easier to imitate than expertise. Put it to work. Decide what you want to be trusted for, then signal it before you speak. Dress a level into the role. Lead with the credential, the number of years, the specific thing you've done. Say it once, plainly, then never mention it again. Speak precisely and let the proof carry what the symbol began. Because people don't weigh your argument and then decide how much to trust you. They decide how much to trust you, and then they weigh your argument. The Asch conformity experiment, when your eyes lie for the group. People will deny what they see with their own eyes rather than stand alone. A subject sits in a room among actors. Everyone is shown 2 lines and asked which is longer. The answer is obvious, but the actors, one by one, confidently give the wrong one. When it's the subject's turn, a stunning number agree with the group, choosing an answer they know is false, just to avoid being the odd one out. The pull of belonging can override reality itself. Being wrong with the group feels safer than being right alone. The fear of standing out is primal enough to rewrite the evidence in front of a person's face. In the tribe, breaking from the group carried danger. The nervous system still punishes standing apart with real discomfort, which means agreement doesn't have to be earned. It has to be established before the question is asked. A visible, confident consensus can make private doubt feel like personal error. Here's how it plays out in your hands. Never bring an idea to a room cold. Speak to 2 people beforehand, get their support privately, and let them voice it early. The rest of the room won't evaluate your idea, they'll read the temperature and join it. Because a meeting rarely decides anything. It ratifies what was already decided in the hallway. The consistency trap. One small yes owns you. Agree to something tiny, and you've quietly signed up for something enormous. A canvasser asks a homeowner to put a small card in the window supporting safe driving. Harmless. Weeks later they return, asking to plant a large, ugly billboard on the lawn. The people who agreed to the little card say yes far more often than those asked cold. The first yes rewrote their self-image. Once we commit to something, even trivially, pressure builds to stay consistent with it. We want to be seen and to see ourselves as people who don't flip-flop. Each small agreement becomes a rung, and each next step feels justified by the one before it. This is the foot in the door, and it runs through sales, fundraising, recruitment, and every slow slide towards something nobody would have accepted whole. Written commitments bind harder than spoken ones. Public commitments bind harder than private ones, because reputation joins self-image in pulling the person forward. This is the lever, and here's the hand. Never ask for the thing you want. Ask for the smallest version of it first. A 5-minute call, a single opinion, one signature, and let them tell themselves who they are. Then ask again, bigger. Because you're not asking someone to agree with you. You're asking them to become the kind of person who already has. Pre-Suasion, priming before the ask. The moment to win someone over isn't when you make your request. It's the 60 seconds before, when you quietly arrange their mind to say yes before they even know what you'll ask. This is Pre-Suasion, and it's the darkest evolution of influence because it works on the terrain of a decision before the decision exists. Get someone thinking about adventure, and they'll rate an unfamiliar product as more exciting. Prime them with words about warmth and connection, and they'll judge you as more trustworthy minutes later. Ask a stranger if they consider themselves helpful, and once they've said yes, they can barely refuse the favor that follows, because you installed the identity first, then handed them the request that fits it. The mind doesn't experience this as manipulation. It experiences it as its own spontaneous mood, its own free judgment, never suspecting the judgment was seeded moments earlier by something it barely noticed. This is why skilled operators never lead with the ask. They lead with the frame, a question, an image, a story, a single loaded word that tilts the ground so the ask rolls downhill. By the time the real request arrives, the resistance has already been dismantled quietly in advance. Set the mental stage first, then make the request second. Prime the value before the request. Ask about the goal, tell the right story, then make the ask while that frame is still warm. The Benjamin Franklin Effect. Ask a rival for a favor. The intuition is backwards. You'd think doing favors wins people over, but the sharper move is to ask a favor from someone who dislikes you. Franklin, facing a hostile rival, asked to borrow a rare book, and the man, having done the favor, warmed to him and became an ally. The mechanism is cognitive dissonance, a brutal little engine in the mind. When someone helps a person they claim to dislike, an uncomfortable contradiction opens up. Why did I help someone I don't like? And the brain, desperate to resolve it, rewrites the feeling instead of undoing the act. I must not dislike them after all. I must actually respect them. The favor doesn't create resentment. It manufactures affection, because the mind aligns emotion to behavior rather than the reverse. This is why the tactic is so quietly devastating against an adversary. You don't have to win them over with kindness or proof. You just have to get them to invest a small effort in you, and their own psychology does the converting. Ask the rival for advice, for a small hand, for their opinion, and watch the hostility soften into something like alliance. Want the rival warmer? Give them a reason to invest in you. Ask the rival for one small favor. Advice works best. Once they invest effort in you, their mind starts rewriting the relationship. The foot in the door versus door in the face combo. Two opposite tricks, and the operator runs both, choosing by target. Foot in the door starts tiny. Get a small yes, then a bigger one, then bigger still, each agreement making the next feel consistent. Walking someone up a staircase of commitment until they've agreed to something they'd have refused outright. Door in the face runs the reverse. Open with an outrageous request you expect refused. Can you volunteer 2 years mentoring troubled kids? And when they decline, immediately scale down to what you actually wanted. Well, could you at least chaperone one trip? And the second request, reasonable only by contrast, feels almost impossible to refuse. One exploits consistency, the other exploits contrast, and the guilt of having just said no. And the master move is knowing which to deploy. Small first for the cautious who need to ease in. Big first for those who'll soften after refusing. Combined and alternated, they cover nearly every personality, and the target never sees the architecture. They just feel like they're making reasonable choices, when every option was positioned to funnel them one way. Charities, salespeople, and negotiators run these constantly. Choose your entry. Small first for momentum, big first for contrast. Start tiny when they need momentum. Start huge when contrast helps. Either way, the request you truly want should feel like the natural next move. The contrast principle: show the ugly option first. Nothing is judged on its own. Everything is judged against what came just before it, and the operator controls what comes before. Show someone an ugly, overpriced, or terrible option first, and the option you actually want them to take looks brilliant by comparison, even if, on its own, it's nothing special. The real estate agent shows two dismal, overpriced houses before the one they mean to sell, and the target's relief makes an ordinary house feel perfect. The waiter mentions the expensive special first, and the regular entrees suddenly feel like bargains. This is the contrast principle, and it means perception can be engineered entirely by sequence. The same option feels cheap or expensive, good or bad, generous or stingy, depending purely on what was placed in front of it. The manipulation is invisible because people believe they're evaluating the thing itself, when they're actually evaluating the gap between it and the decoy they were shown on purpose. Arrange the sequence so the right choice feels obvious. Show the weaker, honest option first, then reveal your real recommendation. Because the mind judges the gap before it judges the thing. The Boomerang Effect, why banning backfires. Tell someone they can't have something, and you've just made them want it more. A parent forbids a certain friend, and the teenager who was already drifting away suddenly can't stay apart. A book gets banned and instantly becomes a bestseller. The restriction didn't kill the desire, it detonated it. The effect comes from our need for autonomy. When we sense freedom being taken, we push back hard to reclaim it, often by wanting the forbidden thing far more than before it was forbidden. The mind treats restriction as a loss and fights to prove it is still free. The prohibition becomes an advertisement. Even a warning label can start functioning like a recommendation. It's why "you probably can't afford this" makes people buy, why censorship spreads ideas, why "don't tell anyone" guarantees they will, and why telling someone not to think about something can make it the only thing they can hold in mind. Run it this way. Stop pushing what you want people to take. Withdraw it slightly instead. This might not be for you. I'm not sure you'd want this one. Maybe don't mention it to anyone. Then stop talking and let them reach. Because desire doesn't move toward what's offered. It moves toward what's retreating. And the fastest way to make someone want something is to gently take it off the table. Order for the table, instant perceived leadership. Watch what happens the moment someone at a group dinner takes charge of the ordering. We'll get a few things for the table, the calamari, the flatbread, and let's do a couple of the mains to share. No vote, no discussion, just quiet decisiveness, and something shifts around the whole table. People defer. The one who ordered is now, silently, the leader of the meal, and that perceived authority bleeds into everything after. Their opinions carry more weight, their suggestions get followed, their presence anchors the group. It costs nothing, and it's nearly invisible, which is what makes it such an efficient status play. The mind reads decisiveness as competence, and competence as rank. Whoever removes the group's small burden of deciding gets crowned for it, because most people are quietly relieved to have the choice taken off their hands, and gratitude curdles into deference without anyone noticing. This is why the person who takes command of the trivial, the ordering, the logistics, the "here's what we'll do," often ends up leading the significant, having established dominance over a menu before anyone thought to contest it. Step into leadership by solving the first small decision. Take one harmless decision off the group's plate. Order, organize, move. Solve the small uncertainty first, and the room starts treating you like the leader. Use anchoring. Mention a big number first. Drop a large number into a conversation and you've quietly reset what every number after it feels like. Mention that the flights were around 1200. Let it hang. Then reveal you found them for 500. And watch relief flood the other person's face. 500 now feels like a steal, when moments ago, in isolation, it might have felt like a lot. Nothing about the price changed. The reference point did. This is anchoring, one of the most documented and irrational biases in the human mind. The first figure you hear becomes the anchor, and all judgment drags toward it, even when the anchor is arbitrary, even when it's nonsense. In a famous study, people who spun a wheel to a random high number guessed higher on a completely unrelated question. just because that number was sitting in their head. That's how deep it runs. Salespeople show the expensive model first, so the real one feels reasonable. Negotiators open extreme so the middle looks fair. Whoever names the first number controls the whole conversation's sense of value. Set the reference point yourself before anyone else names it. Name the first credible number. Explain it once, then negotiate around it. Because whoever sets the ruler shapes every measurement that follows. The Semmelweis reflex. Why truth gets rejected. The more clearly you prove someone wrong, the harder they'll cling to being right. A doctor named Semmelweis discovered that if physicians simply washed their hands, fewer mothers would die. He had the data. He was correct. The medical establishment ridiculed him, ruined him, and rejected the truth for decades because accepting it meant admitting they had been killing their own patients. The Semmelweis reflex is the automatic rejection of evidence that threatens identity. It isn't stupidity, it's self-protection. The more a truth costs someone's ego, the more fiercely their mind fights to deny it, regardless of proof. The mind often protects its comfort by attacking the messenger before it examines the message. This is why facts alone rarely change minds, and why being right is not enough. The truth can lose not because it is weak, but because accepting it would demand too much change, wound too much pride, or force someone to reinterpret their own past. Set it up like this. Never make someone wrong to make your point. Give them a door that lets them change position without losing face. You couldn't have known then. That was the right call with the information available. I think you were already moving this direction. Attribute the shift to them, because people don't resist new information. They resist humiliation. Remove the cost of changing their mind, and most of them will change it in front of you. The Diderot Effect. One purchase that bleeds you dry. One beautiful new thing can quietly unravel everything around it. The philosopher Diderot was gifted an elegant scarlet robe. Delighted, he put it on, and suddenly his old desk looked shabby beside it. So he replaced the desk. Then the chair looked wrong. Then the art on the walls. One gift unraveled his entire home and his finances, each upgrade demanding the next. The Diderot Effect is the cascade triggered when a single new element disrupts the harmony of everything already in place. The mind craves consistency, and one thing of higher quality makes the rest feel unworthy of it. The first acquisition quietly rewires what complete looks like, which is why the most consequential purchase is often not the largest one, but the one that begins the chain. Marketers engineer this deliberately. Buy the phone, now you need the case, the earbuds, the watch that pairs with it, and the subscription that makes the ecosystem feel finished. Each purchase manufactures the next by making what you already own feel incomplete. Next time you need this. When you want someone to move in a direction, don't argue for the whole change. Give them one piece of it that's noticeably better than what surrounds it. One upgraded process, one excellent tool, one standard raised, because you don't have to push people through a transformation. Install one thing too good for its surroundings, and they'll dismantle the rest themselves to make it fit. The Ambiguity Effect. Confuse to control. Make one path feel certain and the rest feel murky, and people will walk the one you lit. 3 options sit on a page. 2 are wrapped in conditions, footnotes, and variables. The third is stated in a single clean sentence with a fixed number. Most people take the third, not because it's better, but because it's the only one they can hold in their head. The Ambiguity Effect is our tendency to avoid options with unknown outcomes, even superior ones, in favor of anything that feels certain. The mind treats uncertainty as risk. When a choice is fogged, we read it as dangerous, and whoever controls which options feel clear controls where people land. It shows up in pricing pages, contracts, and every proposal where complexity does the steering. Tangled terms and cluttered alternatives exhaust the mind's willingness to compare until the clearest route feels like relief, even when it was designed to be the destination. Here's the play. Don't argue that your option is best. Make it the simplest one in the room. One sentence, one number, one next step, while everything else stays honest but complicated. Because people rarely choose the strongest option. They choose the one that costs the least to think about, and clarity is a lever disguised as a courtesy. The von Restorff Effect. Be the odd one they can't forget. The mind is a brutal editor, discarding almost everything, and it keeps one kind of thing reliably, the one that broke the pattern. This is the von Restorff Effect, the isolation effect. When one item in a series stands out, it's remembered while the rest blur into nothing. Give someone a list where a single entry is different, larger, stranger, out of place, and that's the one they'll recall, the others erased by their sameness. And this is a designable advantage. In a room of people saying the expected things, the one who says something unexpected is the one who gets remembered. In a stack of forgettable messages, the one that breaks form gets read. In a lineup of similar options, the one that violates the pattern gets chosen, sometimes for no reason beyond its strangeness. Advertisers engineer this constantly. The odd image, the jarring line, the thing that doesn't fit, all built to be the entry your memory refuses to delete. It's why being slightly, deliberately different beats being better, because better blends in, but different sticks. So the move is calculated distinctiveness, standing out just enough to be the thing that survives the mind's editing. Make yourself the pattern break the room remembers. Break one pattern, not 10. Change the opening, the image, or the gesture. One controlled anomaly becomes the thing memory refuses to delete. Speak to pain, not logic. You can lay out every rational reason in the world and watch someone's eyes glaze over, switch to their pain, and they lock in. People don't decide with logic. They decide with feeling and then dress it up as reason afterward. So the operator skips the spreadsheet and goes straight for the wound. Not, here's what you'll gain, but here's what it'll cost you to keep going like this. The frustration piling up, the scramble at the last minute, the quiet fear they already carry. Name that, and their posture changes. The phone goes down. They're suddenly listening with their whole body, because you stopped talking to the part of them that argues and started talking to the part that hurts. The brain responds faster to discomfort and fear than to any well-built case. This is the engine under every effective pitch, every negotiation that highlights what's at stake instead of what's promised. Loss moves people that gain never will. Speak to the ache that actually moves them. Name the ache first, then show the exit. Because logic explains the solution, pain makes them care enough to move. The 10-10-10 rule for decisions. Most bad decisions are made in a single distorted moment, when the feeling of right now drowns out everything else, and the 10-10-10 rule is the antidote that drags the future back into the room. Before you decide, you ask 3 questions. How will I feel about this in 10 minutes? In 10 months? In 10 years? That's it. And it quietly dismantles the trap the present moment sets for you. Because the mind is wired to overweight the immediate, the craving, the fear, the flash of anger, the urge to say yes just to end the discomfort. And it savagely underweights the version of you who has to live with the consequences. The 3 timeframes force perspective. The thing you desperately want right now, the impulsive purchase, the angry text, the tempting shortcut, often looks completely different when you ask how it lands in 10 months, and different again across 10 years. Sometimes the 10-minute regret is worth the 10-year gain, and naming it lets you push through. Sometimes the 10-minute pleasure curdles into 10 years of cost, and naming it stops you cold. Either way, you've broken the spell of the present, which is exactly the spell every manipulator, every marketer, every countdown timer is counting on. Run the rule on your next decision before emotion takes over. Ask 3 questions. 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years. because the future cuts through whatever the present is screaming. Fake a deadline to get faster results. A task with no deadline drifts forever, and a message with no urgency sits unread at the bottom of someone's pile. Add a clock, even an invented one, and both problems vanish instantly. I need this locked by 3. I have to send my answer tonight. Can you get me yours before then? Suddenly, the other person moves with purpose, focus narrows, distractions fall away. The reply that would have taken a week arrives in an hour, all because of a pressure that was never real. That's the engine underneath false urgency. When people feel time closing in, they stop analyzing and start acting, and the careful evaluation that might have produced a no or a delay never gets the chance to run. The deadline doesn't have to be true. It only has to be believed, and belief alone reorders someone's entire priority list in your favor. This is why every sales page has a countdown timer, why offer ends tonight moves product that would have sat, why the manufactured competing offer makes someone sign today. The clock isn't measuring anything. It's manufacturing panic that reads as motivation. Give the task a believable finish line and watch focus tighten. Put a clock on the task and a reason behind it. By 3, so we can review today. Urgency sharpens focus when the deadline feels real. Never negotiate on an empty stomach. The most important factor in a high-stakes decision might not be logic at all. It might be someone's blood sugar. Researchers studying judges deciding parole cases found something disturbing. Prisoners who came up early in the morning or right after lunch were far more likely to be granted release. Those who came just before a break, when the judges were tired and hungry, were far more likely to be denied. Same law, same crimes, different blood sugar. When the body is depleted, the brain defaults to the easy, cautious, often harsher choice, because careful thinking costs energy it doesn't have. Judgment runs on fuel, and an empty tank produces lazy, negative decisions, which means the timing of a conversation can matter more than its content. Deploy it like this. Schedule your hardest asks for when the other person is fresh and fed, and your hardest pushes for when they're not, right before lunch, late in a long meeting, at the tail end of a draining day. Keep yourself fed and sharp, regardless of when you're negotiating. Because the version of someone that exists at 4 p.m. after 6 hours of decisions is not the version that would have said no at 9 a.m., and you get to choose which one you're talking to. The 2 yeses close in any negotiation. Agreement builds momentum, and the 2 yeses close harnesses it by getting a person nodding before the real question ever arrives. You ask 2 small things you already know they'll agree to, questions with only one comfortable answer, and by the time you reach the actual ask, their body and mind are already locked in a rhythm of yes, and breaking that rhythm to say no feels like friction they'd rather avoid. You want this project to succeed, right? Yes. And you'd like it done without the usual last-minute chaos? Yes. Then let's lock the timeline today. The 2 easy yeses weren't the point. They were the runway, priming a state of agreement that carries into the decision that actually matters. This is commitment and consistency turned into a closing technique. Once people start agreeing, they want to keep agreeing, because reversing feels inconsistent, and inconsistency feels uncomfortable. Salespeople stack it. Negotiators build the ladder of small agreements before the big one. The person being closed rarely notices the setup. They just feel a strange smoothness, a sense that saying yes is simply where things were already heading. Build agreement yourself before you place the real proposal. Collect 2 natural yeses, then place the real proposal. Agreement has momentum. Give it a clear direction. Never reveal your full hand first in any negotiation. Information is leverage, and the moment you show yours, you hand it away. The person who reveals their full position first, their budget, their timeline, their real need, their walkaway point, has just given the other side the entire map, and the other side will exploit it to extract everything the map allows. This is why the disciplined negotiator says less, asks more, and keeps their true limits hidden behind vague, flexible language. When you don't know exactly what they'll fight for and what they'll concede, they can't optimize against you because they're negotiating in the dark while you can see. The urge to be open, to lay it all out, to prove good faith, is exactly the impulse that gets exploited. Because openness in negotiation isn't honesty, it's surrender of leverage. The one who speaks first often loses, naming a number, revealing a need, exposing the ceiling they meant to keep hidden. So the move is patience. Let the other side reveal. Ask questions that draw out their position while yours stays concealed, and only commit once you've seen more than you've shown. Keep your leverage by learning more than you reveal. Ask first. Reveal in layers. Keep your ceiling private until their priorities are visible. Information is leverage only while you still own it. The sandwich method for giving criticism. Straight criticism triggers defense, and a defended person doesn't absorb a word you say. The sandwich slips the blade in between two slices of praise, and the target swallows it whole. Open with something genuine and good. Your energy in that pitch was fantastic. Deliver the actual criticism in the soft middle. The middle section lost the thread and needs tightening. Then close with warmth. But you've got the instincts to nail this. The praise on either end lowers the guard and cushions the blow, so the criticism lands without provoking the resistance it normally would, and the person walks away feeling helped instead of attacked. This is why it works in every setting where feedback has to be given, but relationships have to survive. Management, teaching, any moment where you need someone to change without turning on you. But there's a darker read. The sandwich also makes criticism easier to sneak past someone, softening real problems until they barely register, or manipulating a person into accepting a verdict they'd have rejected if you'd said it plainly. The praise isn't always kindness. Sometimes it's anesthetic. Deliver the correction so they can act without shutting down. Praise one strength. Cut to one correction. Close on the next win. The blade lands cleaner when the person still feels capable. Compliment your enemy. It disarms them instantly. Nothing scrambles an adversary like praise they didn't see coming. They've braced for attack, armored up, ready to fight, and instead you hand them a genuine compliment, and the whole posture collapses because there's nothing to push against. You handled that meeting better than I could have. Watch the confusion, the disarmament, the involuntary softening. The brain cannot easily hold hostility towards someone actively affirming it. The two states fight, and the affirmation usually wins, at least long enough to break their momentum. This is why praising an enemy is such a cold, effective move. It's not kindness, it's tactics. You lower their defenses, seed a small doubt about whether you're really the threat they'd decided you were, and quietly obligate them, because now they owe you a debt of goodwill they never wanted. It also plays to the audience. Whoever's watching sees you rise above while they stay coiled for a fight that never comes, and you win the room. Politicians do it to rivals. Operators do it to the exact people who mean them harm. When conflict is expected, disarm it with precise respect. Compliment the exact strength your opponent prides themselves on. Their guard drops because they prepared for attack, not recognition. Say, "I'm not prepared to respond to that," and walk away. You don't owe anyone an answer on their timeline, and refusing one is its own kind of power move. Someone puts you on the spot, a surprise demand, a question designed to corner you into a fast concession. Instead of scrambling, you look at them evenly and say, "I'm not prepared to respond to that right now." Then you stop. No justification, no softening, no argument taken. You've just removed the one thing their whole approach depended on: your rush to react. Most people believe an answer is owed the instant a question lands, and that instinct is exactly what lets fast talkers extract concessions before anyone's had time to think it through. Refusing the timeline denies them their leverage entirely. You decide when the clock starts, not them. Reach for it whenever you want to stall a decision without looking weak. Buy time to consult your own numbers, or simply deny someone the quick yes they were counting on. Calm, brief, final, no further explanation required. Because whoever controls the pace of a negotiation controls the negotiation. And the fastest way to seize that control is to simply decline to move at their speed. The broken record technique to end arguments. Arguments feed on new material. Every fresh point gives the other side something to attack, twist, and escalate. The broken record starves them. You choose one calm, simple statement of your position, and you repeat it, unchanged, no matter what they throw. I understand, and the answer is still no. They argue, they bait, they reframe, they escalate, and you return the same line, same tone, every time, and slowly the fight suffocates for lack of oxygen. Because an argument needs two people generating heat, and you've refused to generate any, offering nothing to grab, nothing to counter. Just the same immovable sentence like a wall that absorbs every blow without cracking. It works because most people are wired to win by out-talking, out-reasoning, outlasting, and the broken record makes all of that useless. There's nothing to out anything, just repetition that signals this is not up for negotiation. Eventually they run out of angles and the argument dies, not because you defeated their points, but because you refuse to play the game where points matter. Parents rely on it. Negotiators lean on it against pressure. Choose one sentence and hold it until the argument runs out of oxygen. Choose one line and become immovable. Repeat it without fresh explanations. Arguments starve when you stop feeding them new material. Repeat back complaints word for word to diffuse anger. An angry person is scanning for one thing above all, evidence they're not being heard, and every sign of it feeds the fire. Take that fuel away and the fire starves. When someone comes at you furious, repeat their complaint back in their own exact words. No paraphrase, no softening, no defense. So, what you're saying is the update dropped with no warning and left your whole team scrambling. Watch the anger deflate, because the thing they were fighting for, to be heard, just happened, and there's nothing left to escalate against. The precise echo proves you were listening at a level they didn't expect, and it forces them to confirm rather than attack, which shifts the whole exchange from combat to acknowledgement. This is why skilled negotiators and hostage mediators do it. Mirroring the exact language drains the emotional charge and buys the space where reason can return. But understand the mechanism. You're not agreeing. You're not conceding anything. You're using their own words as a tool to calm them into a state where they're easier to move. It looks like empathy and functions like control. Reflect their words first, then guide the conversation forward. Mirror the complaint word for word. Once people hear their own anger accurately returned, the fire loses its reason to keep burning. The Columbo Trick. Ask one more question at the door. People armor up for the conversation and disarm the moment they think it's over. That gap is where the truth leaks out, and the Columbo Trick lives inside it. You conduct the whole exchange, let it wind down, signal you're finished, start to leave, and then, hand on the door, you turn back with one more question, delivered as an afterthought. Oh, just one more thing. Because the person has already relaxed, already filed the interaction as done, already dropped the guard they held through the real conversation, the afterthought slips past every defense, and they answer honestly, casually, revealing what they'd have carefully managed if they'd known the questioning was still live. The detective it's named for used it to crack suspects who'd survived the entire formal interview only to hand him everything at the doorway. It works because vigilance is exhausting, and nobody sustains it past the perceived finish line. So the most important question is the one that arrives after the end. Investigators build entire cases on it. Negotiators save the real ask for the walkout. Save your sharpest question for the moment they relax. Save one real question for the doorway. The guard drops at the finish line, and the answer often comes out cleaner. The two-question rule before ending any call. Most conversations end a beat too early, right before the useful part, because people rush the close. The two-question rule fixes that and hands you an edge. Before you let any call end, you ask two more questions, deliberately, past the point where it feels finished. The first question surfaces what the main conversation missed, and the second, asked after they've relaxed into wrapping up, tends to surface what they were holding back. Because the end of a call is when guards drop, when people feel safe, when the careful management of the conversation loosens, and questions asked in that window get answers the formal exchange never would. Before we go, what's the one thing that would make this a clear yes for you? And is there anything you've been hesitant to bring up? Those two, placed at the exit, routinely unlock the real objection, the true priority, the thing that actually decides the outcome. It's a cousin of the doorway trick, exploiting the drop in vigilance that arrives with the perceived ending. Negotiators and salespeople lean on it to keep from leaving value uncollected. Use the final seconds of the call to uncover what stayed hidden. Before the call ends, ask two more. What would make this a yes? And what are we not saying? The exit is where hidden objections surface. The "I could be wrong, but" disarm phrase. Certainty invites resistance. People brace against the person who's sure, hunting for the flaw, defending against the push. So the operator opens with the opposite. "I could be wrong, but," and watches the resistance dissolve before the real point even lands. The phrase is a disarming device, a small performance of humility that makes you seem open, reasonable, non-threatening, and a person who feels no threat feels no need to defend, so your actual argument slips in through a door they left open. The irony is that the confessed uncertainty often makes you more persuasive, not less, because overconfidence reads as a sales pitch while a touch of doubt reads as honesty, and people trust honesty. You haven't weakened your position, you've smuggled it past the guard by dressing it as tentative. This is why it works in rooms full of sharp people who'd shred a bold claim, but nod along to a humble one. The humility lowers the bar for scrutiny, while the point does its work underneath. Skilled persuaders wrap their strongest assertions in it precisely because the softness makes the steel easier to swallow. Wrap your strongest point in enough humility to get it heard. Lead with doubt, land with steel. I could be wrong, but humility lowers the shield before your strongest point arrives. The yes ladder. Walk anyone into agreement. Nobody agrees to the big thing first. They climb to it, one small yes at a time, and never notice the ascent. Picture someone approaching you with something small. Found the printer okay? You nod. Videos didn't freeze on you. You nod again. Each yes is nothing, harmless, barely a word. But your body is learning a rhythm, and that rhythm is agreement. By the time the real request arrives, saying no would mean breaking a pattern you didn't know you'd started. Psychologists call this the foot in the door. Every small commitment quietly reshapes how you see yourself until you're someone who says yes to this person. Salespeople stack tiny agreements before the close. Recruiters ask for your email before your loyalty. Charities ask you to sign before they ask you to give. The genius is that resistance never gets a chance to form because there was never a single moment big enough to resist. Build the ladder yourself, one effortless yes at a time. Stack easy, relevant yeses. Let each answer establish the direction. By the real ask, agreement should feel like the next rung. The confidence loop. Hand someone a self they'll become. You can hand someone a belief they don't have yet, and they'll wear it like it was always theirs. Picture a person frozen at a doorway, certain they'll embarrass themselves. A stranger glances over and says, "You've got the perfect energy for this." No pressure, just a quiet assumption of confidence. And something shifts. They straighten, they walk in, and the borrowed belief starts feeling like their own. This is the confidence loop, and it doesn't begin inside a person. It begins in how they're seen. Treat someone as capable, and they start behaving that way. When others respond to that behavior, the belief hardens into fact. The loop tightens with every turn. Coaches lean on it. Cult leaders lean on it. Anyone who wants to shape a person rather than command them reaches for it. Give them the self-image that pulls the behavior you need. Name the strength before they need it. You stay calm under pressure. People spend enormous energy proving a flattering identity true. Plant ideas as questions. Let them think it was theirs. Tell someone what to do, and they evaluate it, argue with it, resist it, because it's your idea being pushed onto them. Ask the right question instead, and the same idea grows inside their own head, where it can't be attacked, because now it's theirs. What would it look like if you actually led this one? No push, no pitch, just a door quietly opened. And the mind, invited rather than commanded, walks through voluntarily, considering a possibility it would have fought if you'd stated it outright. This is the difference between force and steering. A statement triggers defenses. A question, especially one that carries an idea folded inside it, slips past them, and the person arrives at your conclusion believing they generated it. That belief is the whole prize, because people defend their own ideas ferociously and abandon yours easily. Plant the direction inside a question and let them voice it. Hide the idea inside a question. Let them say the conclusion aloud. People defend thoughts they believe they discovered. Say, "That reminds me of a story." Facts get evaluated. Stories get absorbed. The moment you say, "That reminds me of a story," you've disabled the part of the listener's brain that argues and activated the part that surrenders. Advice, stated plainly, invites resistance. They weigh it, doubt it, push back. But wrap the exact same advice inside a story about someone else, and it slides past every defense. Because nobody argues with a story, they just live inside it and quietly draw the lesson themselves, believing they arrived at it alone. There was a guy at my last job who barely spoke, but when he did, everyone listened, because he waited until he actually believed something. You didn't tell your listener to talk less and mean more. The story did, and they'll credit themselves for the insight. This is the oldest persuasion technology there is, older than logic, and it works because the mind is built to process narrative as experience, not argument. Preachers lead with it. Salespeople lead with it. Anyone who wants to change your mind without triggering your resistance reaches for it. When advice would trigger resistance, move through a story instead. Say, "That reminds me of a story," then smuggle the lesson through a scene. Advice gets resisted, narrative gets lived. Speak in stories. Bypass every defense they have. List your points and people put up their guard, evaluating, ranking, deciding whether to accept each one. Tell a story and the guard comes down, because the mind doesn't fight a narrative, it enters it. This is the deeper version of the same weapon, not just occasionally reaching for a story, but structuring how you communicate around story instead of argument entirely. When you say, "Here are 3 reasons," the listener becomes a judge. When you say, "I had a boss once who never gave feedback, and for months I thought I was failing," they become a passenger, riding along, feeling what you felt, absorbing the meaning without ever being asked to agree. That's the exploit. A point demands a verdict. A story demands only attention and delivers the conclusion through the side door while the front door stays guarded. People remember stories far longer than facts, act on them more readily, and defend them as their own once they've felt them. This is why every effective leader, every con artist, every persuader who lasts speaks in narrative. Turn your message into an experience they can step inside. Turn the point into a person, a problem, and a consequence. When they enter the story, the conclusion walks in behind them. Confess first, then ask. Before you ask for something, hand over a small piece of yourself. I feel a little embarrassed admitting this, but I've been falling behind, and I could really use your help. Watch the other person's face change, not obligation, understanding. Because you led with your own soft underbelly, the request that follows feels different, less like a demand, more like an invitation into something honest. This is disarming honesty, and it exploits a wiring you can't easily override. Vulnerability triggers trust. When someone confesses first, the brain reads it as a gift of exposure, drops its guard, and rushes to reciprocate with warmth. You've reframed the entire exchange from a transaction where they might say no into a chance to support someone who trusted them enough to be weak. That's why the tactic is so effective and so quietly manipulative. The confession doesn't have to be real, it just has to feel real. And the strategic display of a wound can open a door that pressure never would. Open with one honest admission, then make the request. Confess one small truth before the ask. Vulnerability lowers the transaction and makes the request feel human. Ask to borrow a pen. The fastest way to bond with a stranger isn't to impress them, it's to owe them something small. Ask to borrow a pen. Ask them to hold your spot, watch your bag, help you move a chair. These aren't inconveniences, they're trust exercises, and they trigger a mechanism most people never notice. The moment someone does you a small favor, their brain quietly justifies it. I helped this person, so I must be okay with them. And warmth flows backward from the action. You didn't earn the goodwill by being useful. You earned it by letting them be useful to you. This is a cousin of the Benjamin Franklin effect, and it's counterintuitive precisely because everyone assumes bonding comes from giving. It doesn't, or not only. It comes from letting someone invest a little effort in you, because effort reshapes how they feel, and they can't help concluding they must like the person they just helped. So the operator doesn't lead by offering, they lead by asking small, easy, human requests that pull a stranger into the role of helper and, from there, into the role of friend. Let them invest first with one tiny, easy favor. Borrow the pen. Ask for the tiny favor. A small investment can create more warmth than another attempt to impress. Show micro-vulnerability, then strength. Pure confidence gets doubted. Pure vulnerability gets dismissed. But vulnerability followed instantly by strength is nearly irresistible. I thought I bombed that call this morning, she says. And before anyone can pity her, she adds, so I reworked the whole pitch over lunch, and it's solid now. That 1-2, a flash of doubt, then command, makes her confidence feel earned instead of arrogant, and makes her humanity feel like an asset instead of a weakness. This is the calibrated crack in the armor. The brief admission of a wound lowers everyone's defenses, invites them in, signals you're real, and then the strength that follows lands with double the weight, because now it has roots. It reads as tested, survived, true. People trust confidence that has visibly bled a little. That's the exploit, and it can be entirely performed, the doubt manufactured precisely to make the strength more believable. Leaders lean on it to build authority that feels authentic. Show one controlled weakness, then let your strength answer it. Show the crack, then the steel. Earned confidence beats polished perfection. Ask for opinions, not answers. Ask someone for the answer, and you've put them on trial. They have to be right, and the pressure makes them cautious, guarded, closed. Ask for their opinion instead, and the whole thing relaxes, because an opinion can't be wrong. It just has to be honest, and honesty flows where judgment can't reach. What's your opinion on this layout? opens a person up in a way what's the correct layout never will. They lean in, they talk freely, they hand you their actual thinking instead of a defended position. And here's the deeper move. The moment someone gives you their opinion, they've invested in you, committed a piece of themselves to your problem, and that investment quietly turns into loyalty. They now have a stake in how things go. This is why leaders who ask for input build fierce commitment, why the smartest operators seek opinions they may never use, just to draw people in. It flatters, it disarms, and it binds. Ask for their view and let their investment begin. Ask for their opinion, not the correct answer. Pressure drops, honesty rises, and their investment in your outcome begins. You seem like equals instant report. 3 words crack a person open faster than an hour of small talk. You seem like. It doesn't even have to be accurate. That's the strange part. You seem like someone who notices when people feel left out. Even if it's a little wrong, it lands because it proves you were paying attention, that you looked closely enough to try to name them. And almost nobody gets seen that way, so they lean into it hungrily. If you're right, they feel understood on sight. If you're slightly off, they rush to correct you. Not quite, but actually. And now they're handing you the real version, the deeper truth, unprompted. Either way, you win. Either way, the conversation drops out of surface and into something personal, fast. This is why cold readers and con artists lead with it. A confident guess about someone's character isn't a statement, it's bait, and the human need to be known swallows it whole. Offer a precise read and let them open the rest. Offer a sharp read. You seem like someone who notices what others miss. Whether they confirm or correct it, the conversation opens. Ask about childhood, instant connection. Ask what someone does and you get a wall, a title, a category they hide behind. Ask what they were like as a kid, and a door swings open they didn't know they'd left unlocked. Childhood memories aren't just old, they're formative and unguarded, soaked in early joy and longing before a person learned to perform. When someone talks about who they were at 7, they're handing you the blueprint for who they became. And because it feels innocent, harmless, personal without being confrontational, the defenses never rise. This is a soft entry into a person's core, and it's exactly why therapists, interrogators, and skilled seducers all drift there early. You're not asking for secrets. You're opening the room where people feel most themselves, and most people will follow you in gratefully, relieved someone finally asked. The version of them you meet there is the real one, the one underneath the adult armor. Go straight to childhood when you want the deeper blueprint. Ask who they were before the armor. What were you like as a kid? Childhood turns biography into blueprint. What's your story? Not, what do you do? What do you do? Boxes a person in, files them under a label, teacher, engineer, unemployed, and the conversation dies inside that box. What's your story? Does the opposite. It cracks the box open. The question is disarming precisely because it's unexpected and unbounded. And most people, surprised, drop the rehearsed resume and start somewhere real, a move across the country, a thing they left behind, a version of themselves in transition. You didn't ask for their job, you asked for them, and the difference reorganizes the entire encounter. Now you're not exchanging credentials, you're receiving a narrative, and narratives carry emotion, history, contradiction, the raw material of real connection and real leverage. This is why the question works in interrogation, in seduction, in any situation where someone wants to bypass the surface fast. Stories invite honesty in a way facts never do. The person unfolds, reveals what they value and what they've survived, and hands you a map of who they are. Invite the story instead of collecting the resume. Replace the resume question with, "What's your story?" Titles give categories, stories reveal motives. Ask questions that make them reflect. Most conversation is noise, shared complaints, easy opinions, nothing that sticks. Then someone asks a question that stops you cold. What would your younger self be proud of in you now? You laugh, caught off guard, then go quiet, because you've never said the answer out loud before. And in that silence, the entire dynamic between you shifts. That's the power of a question that turns a person inward. The brain runs on autopilot, reaching for prepared answers, until a real question interrupts the pattern, not to challenge but to invite, and the mind is forced to build something new right there in front of you. That vulnerable mid-construction moment is where attachment forms. People bond to whoever made them think a thought they'd never thought before. Coaches, mentors, the person you can't stop thinking about, they all wield this. What are you afraid to want? Opens a person in a way small talk never could, and they credit you for the opening. Ask the question that makes them stop and build a real answer. Ask the question that forces a pause. What are you afraid to want? The person who triggers reflection becomes hard to forget. Break the script. Hijack the whole room's attention. Hi, how are you? Good. You? Nobody's thinking. Both people are running a script older than they are, on total autopilot. And autopilot is where attention goes to die, until someone breaks it. Answer, how are you, with something unexpected, a strange fact, a real confession, a story instead of a status update, and the other brain snaps awake. It has to. The pattern it was coasting on just shattered, and now it's forced to actually process you. This is the pattern interrupt, and it's how you seize control of a moment, not by force, but by contrast. The brain is wired to ignore the expected and lock onto the strange. Salespeople open with the wrong line on purpose. Manipulators derail your defenses by refusing to play the part you prepared for, because your resistance was built for the script, and they just tore up the script. Whoever breaks the pattern writes the next line, and the other person is suddenly following, off balance, present, and open. Break the expected rhythm and take the next line. Break one expected line. Surprise resets attention, and whoever resets the rhythm writes what comes next. The first word wins. The first thing said doesn't just get remembered, it decides how everything after it gets heard. Picture someone walking in and announcing, "You have to hear this before I lose my nerve." The room stops, not because of the story, but because of where it landed. First, with energy. It set the temperature for everything that followed. This is the primacy effect, and it's a quiet form of control. The brain grabs the first frame it's handed and measures everything else against it. Open with warmth, and you can be blunt later without being called cold. Open with an insult, and every kind thing after gets read as fake. Interrogators know the first accusation shapes the whole confession. Negotiators know the first number anchors the whole deal. Whoever speaks first isn't just participating. They're drawing the map everyone else will navigate. Write your opening before the room writes it for you. Write the first sentence before the conversation begins. The opening frame becomes the lens everything else must pass through. The last word lingers. Change the last thing you say, and you change how the whole conversation is remembered. Picture a night winding down, chairs scraping, someone halfway out the door who turns and says, "I always feel better after these." No response needed, but that line outlives everything spoken before it. This is recency bias, the mind's habit of weighting the final note far heavier than the rest. Endings stick the way the last frame of a film stays behind your eyes. And here's the leverage. You don't need to win a conversation, you just need to land it. The exit line reframes everything that came before. End a tense exchange with warmth, and the whole thing gets remembered as warm. End a good exchange badly, and you poison the memory of it. Manipulators use this to erase their own damage. One calm, reassuring sentence at the door that rewrites an hour of friction. Salespeople save their strongest line for the walkout. Choose the final line with the memory you want in mind. Save one deliberate line for the exit. The last emotion becomes the memory the whole interaction wears. Copy their drink order to build instant rapport. Order the same thing they just ordered, and something invisible shifts in your favor before the drinks even arrive. "I'll have what she's having" sounds like laziness. It's actually one of the fastest rapport tools there is, because the mind is wired to read similarity as safety, and safety as liking. When someone hears their own choice echoed back, a quiet signal fires beneath their awareness. This person is like me. And we trust people who are like us, instantly, irrationally, without ever knowing why. Researchers have found that mimicry this small, matching an order, a posture, a phrase, measurably increases how much someone likes and trusts the mimic, and even how generous they become toward them. You've felt it from the other side, the colleague who ordered the same coffee and somehow felt familiar by the second sip, the date that relaxed the moment you both asked for the same thing, as if the matching glasses proved something neither of you said. The salesperson who, coincidentally, loves the same drink you do, whose pitch went down easier afterward. That's the mechanism working, similarity greasing trust before a single meaningful word is exchanged. It costs nothing, it's invisible, and it never reads as strategy, only as coincidence or kinship. Create one small similarity before the real conversation starts. Match one harmless choice, the drink, the pace, the phrase. Similarity whispers safe before either of you has earned familiarity. End with a compliment, always. The last thing you say is the thing that lingers, and it colors the memory of everything before it. This is why the final compliment is such a quiet weapon. End any interaction, especially a hard or awkward one, with one genuine, specific piece of praise, and you rewrite how the whole exchange gets stored. By the way, your last presentation is still being talked about. You really set the tone for the quarter. The tension clears. The person walks away feeling seen instead of managed, and the difficult parts fade under the warmth of the closing note. It doesn't erase the problems. It decides which feeling gets remembered, and feeling, not fact, is what people carry into tomorrow. That's the leverage. The parting compliment acts as a buffer, softening criticism, closing loops, leaving a door open for future trust even after friction. Therapists close sessions this way. Leaders end hard conversations on a strength. You don't have to flatter or lie. You just find one true thing and place it last, where it'll do the most work. Place one true compliment at the exit and let it linger. End on one true, specific compliment. The final warmth edits the memory of everything that came before. Dress one level higher, borrow respect you haven't earned. Before you say a word, you've already been sorted. The brain decides who you are in seconds, and clothing is the fastest data it has. Walk into a room dressed just slightly better than everyone else. Not flashy, not loud, just one clean step above the expected, and watch what happens. Glances linger a beat longer. Conversations tilt toward you. People assume without evidence that if you took care with your appearance, you probably take care with everything. Psychologists call it the halo effect. One visible signal of competence bleeds into every other judgment about you. Studies show people in sharper clothing are rated as more intelligent, more trustworthy, more worth listening to, none of which the fabric actually proves. That's the exploit. You're not buying respect, you're borrowing it from an instinct people can't switch off. Con artists have always known this. The uniform, the tailored coat, the expensive watch, these open doors that words never could. Borrow the first impression by dressing one deliberate step higher. Dress one level above the room, not louder, cleaner. People borrow conclusions about your competence from the care they can see. Act like you already belong. Belonging is rarely granted, it's recognized. Walk into a space you have no claim to, and if you carry yourself as though you clearly belong, No anxious apology, no waiting to be welcomed. People simply accept it. A woman settles into a book club mid-conversation, adds a thought about the novel like she's been there all along, and within minutes, she's indistinguishable from the rest. She was never invited. She just never signaled that she needed to be. The nervous system of everyone in the room scans for one thing: hesitation, the tell of the intruder, and when it finds none, it stops questioning. Your calm reads as permission. Your ease reads as proof. This is how people infiltrate rooms far above their standing, not by faking credentials, but by removing every trace of the uncertainty that would give them away. Confidence isn't loud here. It's the quiet absence of the flinch. Move like you already belong and let the room catch up. Enter like no permission is missing. Move calmly, contribute early, and remove the flinch. Belonging often follows the person who stops asking for it. Pretend you're the host. Walk into a room you don't own and act like you own it, and something strange happens. People believe you. Not because you claimed anything, but because you behaved as though the space was partly yours. You refill the bowl, you straighten the chairs, you ask the stranger if they've tried the food yet. Tiny acts of ownership, and suddenly you have quiet authority nobody granted you. The mind ties confidence to caretaking. Whoever tends the environment must belong to it, must have some right to it, and people defer to that on instinct without ever examining why. This is how outsiders walk into closed circles and get treated like insiders, not by asking permission, but by never seeming to need it. Great manipulators never wait to be welcomed. They assume belonging, take small responsibility for the room, and let everyone else quietly reorganize around them. You don't need a title or an invitation. You need the posture of someone who already has one. Act like the host for 30 seconds and watch authority appear. Fix one small thing the host would notice. Refill, introduce, organize. Caretaking quietly claims authority. Act like you forgot they're famous. Status builds a wall, and the person behind it is usually exhausted by it. Everyone performing at them, treating them as a spotlight instead of a person. So the most disarming thing you can do is refuse to notice. Talk to the powerful, the famous, the important, as if they're just another human in the room. Ask about the book in their hands, not the career behind their name, and watch them soften with relief. You gave them permission to step off the pedestal, and they'll like you enormously for it, because you offered the one thing their status stole: normalcy. This isn't rudeness. It's speaking to the person instead of the position, and it flips the entire dynamic. Now they're not managing an admirer, they're having a real conversation, and real conversations breed real trust, which is exactly what you want from someone powerful. Sales operators lean on it to disarm executives. The person who wants access uses it to get close. Ignore the pedestal and you dignify the human, and the human rewards you with a door no flattery could open. Treat status as ordinary and make yourself rare. Ignore the pedestal. Talk to the person, not the status. Normalcy is rare currency around power, and rare currency buys access. Be interested, not interesting, and own the room. The most magnetic person in the room is almost never the one trying to be. Everyone else is performing, angling to impress, waiting for their turn to talk. The operator does the opposite, and it makes them unforgettable. They get genuinely, relentlessly interested in the other person. They ask, they follow up, they listen with real attention instead of polite nods. And the other person, starved for exactly this, opens like a flower and walks away thinking that was the best conversation I've had in ages, having done almost all the talking. That's the trick, and it's nearly invisible. People don't remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel, and nothing feels better than being deeply attended to. Drop the need to be impressive, and you become impressive by subtraction. You learn everything about them, while revealing nothing about yourself, which is both intimacy and intelligence gathering, wearing the same warm face. In sales, in seduction, in any first meeting, curiosity beats charm every time. Own the room by making someone else feel worth hearing. Ask, follow up, and stay curious. People remember the person who made their own story feel worth telling. Walk in like you own the room, posture priming. Before you speak, before anyone knows a thing about you, your body has already filed a report, and posture is the headline. Walk in slouched, hesitant, eyes down, taking up as little space as possible, and the room reads you as low status and treats you accordingly. Walk in tall, shoulders back, unhurried, occupying your full space like it belongs to you, and the same room defers before you've said a word. But here's the darker half. The posture doesn't just change how they see you, it changes how you feel. Expansive, open stances actually raise your sense of confidence and your willingness to take risks, while collapsed, defensive ones deepen anxiety and powerlessness. So the body leads and both minds follow, yours and theirs. Stand like you own the room and you begin to believe it, and your belief becomes the thing they respond to, a loop that closes in seconds. This is why performers, leaders, and predators alike set their posture before they enter, priming their own state and everyone else's in one move. Prime your own authority before you cross the doorway. Set the body before the room sees you. Shoulders open, pace slow, eyes level. Posture writes the first draft of your authority. Sit where you can see the exit, instant calm. There's a reason the most composed person in any room often has their back to the wall, facing the door. It isn't paranoia. It's the quiet exploitation of a nervous system that never fully stopped being prey. When you can't see what's behind you or how you'd leave, a low background alarm runs the entire time. Vigilance you don't consciously notice, but that drains you, tightens you, keeps a part of your brain scanning instead of thinking. Take the seat that faces the room and covers the exits, and that alarm switches off. The animal underneath relaxes, and with it comes a calm and clarity everyone around you can feel. And that felt calm is a weapon. The person who is visibly at ease while others are subtly on edge reads as the one in control, the anchor, the authority, because composure signals safety and people gravitate toward whoever seems safest. It's why negotiators, operators, and anyone who wants the upper hand claims the commanding seat before the conversation starts, arriving early precisely to choose it. Choose the position that gives your nervous system the advantage. Claim the seat that sees the room and the exit. Calm starts with position, and people trust the person whose nervous system looks settled. Compliment behind their back. A compliment said to someone's face can be dismissed as flattery. A compliment they overhear cannot. Praise someone when they're not in the room, drop it casually to a third person, and let it find its way back. It always does. People talk. And when it reaches them, it lands with a force no direct compliment ever could, because the absence of an audience makes it feel true. You had nothing to gain. You weren't performing for them. So it must be real. That's the entire mechanism, and it's devastatingly effective. Say she's brilliant in a crisis to a coworker, and it circles back like a gift with your fingerprints on it. The target warms to you and often can't even explain why. This is influence that never looks like influence, which is exactly what makes it powerful. There's no defense against a kindness that arrives sideways. Send the praise sideways and let credibility multiply. Praise them where they cannot reward you. Indirect kindness feels true because it appears unperformed. Mention a mutual interest, not a person. Name-dropping a shared contact is a power play, and everyone can smell it. Oh, you know them too. A move that quietly ranks and measures, but leading with a shared interest instead does something cleaner and far more disarming. Is that the new season of That Finance podcast creates an instant equal footing? No hierarchy, no networks, No leverage, just two people who happen to care about the same thing. And that common ground opens a person faster than any mutual acquaintance could, because it's built on value, not status. When you connect through what someone loves rather than who they know, you bypass all the defensive machinery people keep up around influence and access. There's nothing to guard against, no angle to detect, just recognition. And recognition is intimacy's quickest shortcut. This is why skilled operators lead with the idea, not the contact. In sales, in a room full of strangers, in any first move that needs to feel warm instead of calculated. I know them reads as calculation. I love this too reads as connection. Lead with the shared interest and skip the status game. Lead with the shared obsession, not the shared contact. Passion creates equality. Name-dropping creates suspicion. Use we instead of you. Two words, one fact, completely different weapons. You forgot to lock the door, points a finger. Looks like we forgot to lock the door, links arms. Nothing about what happened changed. Everything about how it lands did. The word you isolates and accuses, and the instant someone feels accused, their defenses seal shut and they stop hearing you. The word we dissolves that wall before it forms. Suddenly, you're not the judge, you're the partner, standing on their side of the problem. This is why we is one of the most quietly controlling words in the language. It manufactures a team that may not exist, folds the other person into a shared responsibility they didn't agree to, and makes resistance feel like turning on an ally. Listen for it. We must have gotten our wires crossed feels lighter than you didn't listen. Should we head out? Pulls where are you ready to go? Only asks. It shows up in apologies that quietly spread the blame, and in leadership that binds people to decisions they never made. Shift from accusation to alliance with one word. Replace accusation with alliance. How do we fix this? The word we lowers the shield. Just be careful not to let it erase accountability. Ask what made you say that. A sharp comment lands, loaded, maybe an attack, and the reflex is to fire back or retreat. Both hand the other person control. There's a third move that quietly seizes it. What made you say that? No judgment, no defense, just curiosity, and it redirects the entire charge of the moment. Instead of reacting to the words, you reach past them to their source, and the source is almost never what the words seem to be. Leadership's checked out lately cracks open into, I sent that proposal and nobody even responded. It felt like it didn't matter. The criticism was disappointment wearing armor, and your questions stripped the armor off without a fight. This is how you defuse and disarm at once, decoding the real feeling underneath the sharp surface while looking calm and generous doing it. Therapists reach for it to open people. Negotiators lean on it to surface the true objection behind the stated one. You're not asking them to justify themselves. You're asking where the words came from, and people, feeling that depth of attention, often clarify and soften on their own. When the surface gets sharp, ask for the source. Ask, what made you say that? Curiosity pulls the wound out from behind the weapon. Say, tell me more, instead of arguing. Push back and people get louder. Ask them to keep going, and they get clearer. And clearer is where you want them, because a person elaborating is a person revealing. Can you tell me more about what that's felt like? Is not a concession. It's a trap made of curiosity. When someone accuses or complains and you resist, they entrench. But when you invite them deeper, tell me more. The heat drains and they start unpacking. And in the unpacking, they hand you the real material, the underneath, the thing the first sentence was only pointing at. You're not agreeing, you're extracting, while looking generous doing it. The three words say, I'm listening for understanding, not waiting for my turn. And that perceived attention pulls people past their defenses into what they actually mean, which is exactly what you need to move them. Therapists open whole layers with it. Salespeople uncover the true objection with it. In conflict, It lowers walls without requiring you to prove a thing. Keep them talking until the real objection appears. Say, "Tell me more," then stay quiet. The first sentence is usually the armor. The next one is the truth. Ask, "Can you help me understand?" When someone's dug in, resistant, ready for a fight, 4 words dissolve the standoff faster than any argument. Can you help me understand? It sounds like surrender. It's the opposite. You're not conceding your position. You're shifting the ground beneath the tension, inviting them to explain instead of defend. And the moment someone explains rather than defends, the war is already half over. It felt like the policy came out of nowhere, no context. It just hit the team mid-week. Now you see the real objection, the one buried under the resistance, and they feel heard instead of attacked, which drops their guard without you giving up an inch. This is how you turn a confrontation into a collaboration while looking like the humble one. The phrase puts you on the same side of the table, signals you care more about understanding them than winning, and people who feel understood stop fighting and start opening. Therapists reach for it. Negotiators lean on it to move a stuck room. It's control disguised as curiosity. Replace pressure with curiosity and let them hand you the map. Ask, "Can you help me understand?" Resistance turns into explanation, and explanation gives you the map. Use even if to overcome doubt. Doubt works like a trapdoor. The moment a person imagines something going wrong, they fall into trying to avoid it completely, and the fear runs the whole show. You can't argue them out of it. Argue with doubt, and it digs in harder. But you can step past it with 2 words. Even if. Even if they tear your pitch apart, you'll still walk out with something stronger than you started with. Notice what that does. It doesn't deny the fear, doesn't pretend failure is impossible, which is why the mind accepts it instead of resisting. It just shrinks the fear's power by building a floor underneath the worst case. Yes, that might happen, and you'll still be okay. The trapdoor closes. The person exhales and moves forward, not because the doubt vanished, but because it stopped being in charge. This is how you move someone who's frozen, in negotiation, in a decision, in their own hesitation, without ever attacking the thing they're scared of. You make room for the fear, then calmly walk past it, and they follow. Make the worst case survivable, then move them forward. Name the worst case, then build the floor. Even if that happens, here is the next move. Fear shrinks when it can see what comes after. Say, "That's exactly what I would have said." Validation is more persuasive than instruction, and few phrases validate as efficiently as, "That's exactly what I would have said." Someone offers an idea, unsure, scanning your face for approval, and you give them not just approval, but alignment. You'd have said the same thing, which means they're not just right, they're right the way you're right. Watch them straighten, light up, open. The phrase does something ordinary praise doesn't. It puts you beside them instead of above them, dissolving any sense that you're grading them, and people trust and follow whoever makes them feel like a peer rather than a student. It's disarming precisely because it isn't exaggerated. It doesn't sound like flattery. It sounds like recognition, and recognition from someone whose judgment they value is intoxicating. Now they'll take more risks, share more freely, lean harder into the direction you've just endorsed, all because you told them their instinct matched yours. Leaders lean on it to build confidence they can then steer. Operators reach for it to make someone feel smart, capable, aligned, right before nudging them exactly where they want. Create alignment first, then attach the next step. Tell them, "That's exactly what I would have said." Then attach the next action. Alignment makes your direction feel like their own momentum. Thank them for the thought, not the action. Anyone can thank a person for what they did. The operator thanks them for what they meant, and that lands somewhere deeper, somewhere the ordinary thank you never reaches. "I know it didn't go how you hoped, but I saw how much you put into that opening. You really tried to make it connect. That kind of gratitude bypasses the outcome entirely and touches the intention behind it. And people are far hungrier to be recognized for their intention than their results. Because results are visible and often praised, but intention is invisible, and being seen at that hidden level feels like being truly known. This is why the tactic builds such disproportionate loyalty. Actions fail all the time, the plan collapses, the effort falls flat, and in those moments, the person who thanks you anyway for the care underneath the failure becomes someone you'd walk through walls for. It also works when nothing failed, elevating a small gesture into something meaningful by honoring the thought behind it. Leaders bind people this way. Recognize the intention and earn loyalty beneath the result. Thank the intention, not just the result. I saw what you were trying to protect. People bond hardest to those who notice invisible effort. Ask, what are you thinking right now? A conversation goes quiet, and the silence isn't empty. It's loaded. Someone shut down for a reason they haven't said. Most people either fill the gap or let it curdle. The operator does neither. They ask softly, what are you thinking right now? And the wall lifts. Because the question assumes nothing, directs nothing, doesn't guess or manage, it simply opens a door and hands the person the key. And into that opening, they step. Honestly, I don't think this is going to work. I just didn't know when to say it. What was bottled now has a way out and a way toward you. This is how you surface what's hidden without prying it loose. You invite it, and the invitation feels like care instead of interrogation. Therapists reach for it when someone goes silent. Negotiators lean on it when the room stalls and the real objection is buried. Asking someone what they're thinking lets them steer, and people follow whoever gave them the wheel. When they go quiet, invite the thought directly. When the silence changes, ask, what are you thinking right now? Then wait. The hidden layer opens when you do not pre-fill it. Comment on the atmosphere, not them. Name someone's mood directly. You seem stressed, and it lands as intrusion. They feel exposed, watched, and they close. But comment on the room instead of the person, and you get all the connection with none of the resistance. Feels like the kind of day where everyone's shoulders are up by their ears. You've named the tension without pinning it on them, given them room to breathe, and watched their posture soften without ever putting them on the spot. This is the sideways approach to reading a person's state. You reflect the atmosphere, and they quietly recognize themselves in it, on their own terms, feeling seen instead of cornered. The shift from "you are" to "this feels" is small and enormous. One accuses, one includes. One makes a person defensive, one makes them relax. Therapists lean on it to open hard sessions gently. The skilled operator reaches for it to acknowledge what's in the air without triggering the guard that direct observation would raise. Name the atmosphere and let them step into the opening themselves. Describe the weather, not the person. This room feels tense. They can recognize themselves without feeling exposed. Describe their expression, not their mood. Guessing someone's mood is a gamble that often backfires. You look upset can feel presumptuous, invasive, wrong. But describing what you actually see, not what you assume it means, opens a person without ever cornering them. You've been staring at the same spot in your cup, and your jaw's been set since we sat down. No label, no diagnosis, just an observation handed back like a mirror, and the person decides for themselves what it means. That's the whole art. You name the surface and let them fill in the depth, which feels like being noticed instead of being read, and people open for the one and close for the other. Saying, "You look angry," tells them what they feel and invites denial. Describing their tight jaw and distant stare shows them you're paying attention without claiming to know their interior, and that respectful precision is what lowers the guard. Therapists lean on it to create safety without pressure. The operator uses it to demonstrate deep attentiveness while leaving the target in control of the reveal, which is exactly what makes them feel safe enough to reveal. Describe what you see, then let them supply the meaning. Name the visible signal, then stop. You went quiet and your jaw tightened. Observation opens, diagnosis closes. Ask, how did that make you feel? There's a question that turns an acquaintance into a confidant in one sentence. How did that make you feel? Someone recounts an event, fast, deflecting, laughing it off, and you let a beat pass and ask it, softly, and everything changes. The pace slows, the performance drops. Embarrassed, I guess. I felt completely out of place. Now they're not reporting anymore, they're reflecting, and reflection in front of another person is intimacy, whether they meant to offer it or not. This question shifts the ground from what happened to what it did inside them, from the outside to the vulnerable interior, and once someone steps into that interior with you, the relationship has changed. That's why therapists reach for it, why it disarms so completely. It treats the person as a human being with an inner world instead of a source of information, and people ache to be met that way. But the ache is exactly what makes it a lever. Draw out someone's feelings and they bond to you, trust you, and hand you the emotional map that lets you move them. Take the conversation deeper with one feeling question. After the facts, ask, how did that make you feel? One question moves the conversation from rapport to intimacy. Count to 3 and steal the power in any fight. Emotion moves faster than thought, which is exactly why it wins so many exchanges. Someone snaps, you snap back, and now you've both surrendered control to the fastest, dumbest part of the brain. The counter is almost embarrassingly simple, 3 seconds. When something lands hot, a sharp word, an attack, an insult, you don't react. You breathe. 1, 2, 3. Just long enough for the emotional surge to crest and start to fall. Long enough for the thinking brain to catch up to the animal one. Then you respond, calm and deliberate, while the other person is still vibrating with heat. And that gap changes everything, because now you look composed and in command, while they look reactive and out of control. And observers read the calm one as the one with authority. The pause doesn't just protect you from saying something stupid, it flips the power. Negotiators lean on it to keep the upper hand. Anyone who wants to dominate a tense moment does it by refusing to move at the speed of emotion. Make the 3-second pause your advantage in the next fight. Count 3 before answering heat. The pause lets your thinking brain take the room back from your reflexes. Be the first to apologize in conflict. In a standoff, both sides dig in, waiting for the other to crack, and the tension calcifies until someone breaks it. The one who breaks it first isn't the weaker one. They're the one who just seized control of the entire situation. Apologizing first isn't about taking the blame. It's about stepping off the battlefield and forcing the dynamic to change. I got defensive yesterday, and that's on me. The other person, braced for war, suddenly has nothing to fight, and the guard drops, almost always followed by their own admission. You didn't lose. You disarmed them, ended the deadlock on your terms, and now hold the moral high ground and the direction of what comes next. The early apology is a lever disguised as humility, and it works precisely because it's so rare. Most people would rather stay locked in pain than concede an inch. Break the deadlock yourself with one clean admission. Apologize first for the peace that is yours. No essay, no defense. One clean admission breaks the deadlock and changes the moral balance. Break tension with a whisper. When the heat rises, everyone expects escalation. Voice meets voice, volume meets volume. So the most disorienting move in a tense moment is to go quiet. Drop your voice below the tension. I think we're both too tired to win this fight right now. Barely above a whisper, and the whole room recalibrates. The other person, braced for resistance, gets gentleness instead, and it breaks the pattern they were riding. Their nervous system reads the softness as a signal that nothing here is dangerous, and the shoulders fall, the breath slows, the fight drains out. A whisper in a loud moment doesn't get lost. It cuts through, because contrast commands attention louder than noise ever could. This is why the quietest person in an argument often ends up controlling it. They refuse to match the energy, and by refusing, they reset it on their terms. It looks like calm. It functions like control. Therapists lower their voice to bring people back from overload. Skilled operators do it to seize a room without ever seeming to fight for it. When tension rises, lower your voice and reset the room. Drop your volume when theirs rises. A whisper forces attention because contrast cuts through what noise cannot. Let them talk first, then you win. Whoever speaks first hands over the map. Most people rush to talk because they think words are control. The opposite is true. Talk first, and you're guessing, projecting, aiming blind. Let the other person go first, and they show you exactly where they stand, what they fear, what they want, what they'll defend. Then you shape a reply built from their own material, and it lands like it was made for them, because it was. Watch negotiators do this. The quiet one who lets the other side lay out their position gets the better deal, because the talker reveals their ceiling without meaning to. Interviewers do it. Let the candidate fill the silence, and they'll surrender information they plan to keep. People reveal more than they intend the moment they go first, and every word narrows the target for the person patient enough to wait. Let them show their hand before you shape your answer. Let them empty their hand first. Listen for fear, price, priority, and limit. Then answer the map they gave you. Say nothing, just nod, and they'll tell you everything. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remove yourself entirely. No words, no reactions, just steady eye contact and a single quiet nod. Someone speaks, halting, uncertain, about something heavy, and you offer nothing but presence, and watch them keep going, faster, freer, deeper, not because you guided them, but because you refused to interrupt the current. The nod says, "I'm still here, keep going," without shifting the spotlight, without inserting yourself, without giving them anything to react to except the safety of your attention. And in that safety, people spill what they'd never say to someone talking back. This is the quietest extraction there is. The person who says nothing and simply nods becomes a vessel the other person pours into, revealing more with every unbroken second, because silence, held with warmth, feels like the deepest kind of listening, and the deepest listening pulls out the deepest truths. Therapists know a nod at the right moment surfaces what an entire question couldn't. In negotiation, silence draws out concessions the other side never meant to offer. Use warm silence and let their next sentence come to you. Nod once. Say nothing. Warm silence pulls people past the sentence they planned and into the one they were hiding. Let them finish the sentence. There's an interruption that doesn't feel loud. Someone finishes your thought for you, maybe gets it right, maybe means to help, and still robs you of something. The space, the small room you needed to arrive at, the idea yourself. Refusing to interrupt is a quiet power move disguised as patience, and it pays out twice. First, it extracts. People don't fully know what they think until they've said it all the way through, and in the pause you refuse to fill, they keep going, circling closer to what they actually mean, revealing more than they planned. Cut them off, and the sentence dies half-formed, along with whatever it was about to expose. Second, it commands. The person who waits, who lets others talk themselves out while offering almost nothing, looks like the person who thinks before speaking, and observers hand that person authority automatically. You spend no credibility filling the air, so when you finally speak, one clean sentence, it lands with enormous weight. Interrogators use the silence to draw out truth. The quietest person in a negotiation often controls it. Give the sentence room to finish. Then make your reply count. Do not finish the thought for them. Let the sentence run out. The extra seconds reveal more and make your reply land heavier. Never break eye contact while listening. Presence is proven not by what you say, but by what you refuse to look away from. When someone speaks, especially about something uncertain or vulnerable, they're scanning constantly. Is it safe to keep going? Am I being judged? Is this person actually here? Break eye contact, glance at your phone, the clock, the door, and you answer no, and they close. But hold steady, eyes on them, unflinching through the uncomfortable parts, and you tell them their words don't have to fight for your attention, and they open all the way. This is how you extract more than someone meant to give. The person who won't look away seems fully invested, and that perceived investment pulls people into revealing what they'd normally hold back, because the steady gaze says, I'm not leaving this moment. Keep going, I can handle it. Therapists rely on it to build safety. Interrogators lean on it to draw out truth. The steady gaze is a container, and people pour themselves into it. Turn full attention into the invitation that keeps them talking. Hold steady eye contact, then soften it naturally. Undivided attention is an invitation people often answer with more truth than they intended. Raise eyebrows when you see someone. There's a signal so fast most people never notice giving or receiving it, and it forges a bond in a fraction of a second. The eyebrow flash. Pass someone, catch their eye, and for a split second lift your brows, just enough, then keep moving. They do it back, almost helplessly, and something wordless just passed between you. Recognition. I see you. Across species and cultures, this micro-movement means the same thing. Openness, non-threat, availability, and the brain reads it instantly, beneath awareness, filing you as someone safe and warm. It's more than a smile. A smile says friendly. The eyebrow flash says, I singled you out. I noticed specifically you. That's why it's so quietly disarming. Give it to someone and they feel chosen out of the crowd without knowing what chose them. Skilled operators lean on it to warm a target before a single word, to make a stranger feel like a near friend in the time it takes to blink. Use the eyebrow flash to create recognition before words. Flash the eyebrows, meet the eyes, add a small smile. Recognition lands before language and makes a stranger feel briefly chosen. Make eye contact just 1 second longer. Trust isn't built in words. It's built in the space between them, and one of the fastest builders is a single extra second of eye contact. Hold someone's gaze just a beat longer than the interaction requires, right at the moment you'd normally look away, and something shifts. Their tiredness thaws into warmth. The mechanical politeness breaks. A small, genuine opening appears where there was only routine. That extra heartbeat signals interest and sincerity in a way words can't fake, because everyone knows how easy words are and how hard sustained attention is. This is why it works on almost anyone: a cashier, a stranger, a target. One held glance, and their instincts read you as unusually present, unusually real. But there's a knife edge inside it. A second too long is warmth, connection, care. 2 seconds too long tips into pressure, dominance, threat. And the same gesture that opened a person will make them recoil. The operator knows exactly where the line sits and rides right up to it. Hold the gaze 1 beat longer and make the moment personal. Hold the gaze 1 beat longer, then release it. 1 second creates warmth. Too many creates pressure. Smile with your eyes, not just your mouth. A smile that stops at the mouth reads as performance, and people feel the falseness instantly, even if they can't name it. A smile that reaches the eyes reads as real, and it disarms on contact. The difference is physical. The mouth can be forced, but the muscles around the eyes are far harder to fake. So when they engage, the brain registers authenticity and safety at a level below thought. This is why the eye smile is so powerful and so worth mastering. It's the signal people scan for to decide whether your warmth is genuine, and when they find it, their tension drains, their guard lowers, and they open. You're not broadcasting joy, you're broadcasting safety, and safety is what people surrender to. Watch a good operator in a tense moment. The softness lives in their eyes, and it does more than any words to settle the room. It says, "I'm not a threat. I'm not rushing to judge. I'm here." And people believe it because the eyes are supposed to be the part that can't lie. Make the warmth real enough to reach your eyes. Let the smile reach the eyes. Think of something genuinely warm, and the face will carry what the mouth cannot fake. Show palm, gain trust instantly. Long before language, the human body learned to read one question in an instant: threat or safe? And the answer lived in the hands. Hidden palms meant a concealed weapon, an intention withheld. Open palms meant nothing to fear. That instinct never left us. Today, a person who gestures with palms up as they speak is quietly broadcasting safety to a part of your brain that decided about them before you consciously did. You lean in without knowing why. This is why the trick is so quietly powerful and so easy to fake. The manipulator who wants your trust keeps their hands open and visible, and your nervous system relaxes on cue, reading honesty into a gesture that costs them nothing. Watch someone diffuse tension, not with softer words, but with open, relaxed hands on the table. The body makes the promise before the mouth does, and people believe the body first. Let your open hands deliver safety before your message arrives. Open the palms and slow the gestures. The body says safe before the words get a chance to argue. Smile first, feel later. Force a smile you don't feel, and within seconds your mood starts to match it. The body leads and the mind follows behind, catching up. Picture passing someone and smiling on reflex. No reason, just a lift of the face. They smile back. A few steps later, you notice you actually feel lighter. You didn't smile because you were happy. You became happy because you smiled. The muscles fire a signal upward, and the brain, without checking, adjusts the emotion to match. This is why the trick is so dangerous in the wrong hands. A person who smiles at you in a tense moment isn't just expressing calm. They're manufacturing it in you, planting an emotion you'll mistake for your own read of the situation. The warm greeter, the disarming grin before the bad news. These bypass your judgment by starting in your body. You feel safe before you've decided anything. Move the body first and let the emotion follow. Smile first, breathe second, let the mood follow. You are not faking joy. You are giving calm a physical place to begin. Keep hands visible at all times. The nervous system never fully stops scanning for danger, and in any new interaction, it asks a silent question about you. Can I see what this person is doing? Hidden hands, tucked under the table, shoved in pockets, jammed in a lap, trip a primal alarm the other person can't articulate but absolutely feels. A low unease, a reason not to relax. Visible hands, resting open on the table, moving easily as you speak. Switch that alarm off. They signal no concealed weapon, no hidden intent, nothing to fear, and the other person settles without knowing why they were tense. This is ancient wiring, older than language, and it runs completely beneath awareness, which is exactly what makes it useful. Keep your hands in sight, and people trust you more, read you as more honest, more available, and they can't tell you the reason. The manipulator who wants your guard down keeps their hands on the table, performing transparency while planning anything at all. Put your hands where trust can read them. Keep the hands visible and still. Readable hands lower invisible tension before the first serious sentence. Touch your own face less. They'll trust you more. Your hands are constantly testifying about you, and most of what they say is working against you. Watch someone under stress, and you'll see it. The fingers drifting to the face, touching the mouth, rubbing the neck, brushing the nose. These self-soothing gestures leak anxiety, uncertainty, and, to the watching brain, something worse: the appearance of deception. Because we've learned across a lifetime that people cover their mouths when they lie, touch their faces when they squirm, fidget when they're hiding something. A person whose hands keep migrating upward reads as nervous or dishonest, even when they're neither. Still your hands, and the opposite signal fires. Hands kept calm and low, visible and unmoving, broadcast composure, certainty, nothing to hide, and people trust the person who doesn't fidget. The face touch is a tell, and tells can be trained away. Poker players kill them. Operators who want to seem trustworthy consciously anchor their hands, denying you the nervous signals that would otherwise leak the truth. Remove the nervous gestures and let stillness speak for you. Anchor your hands low. Stop feeding the face touch. Stillness looks like certainty, and certainty gives words weight. Point your feet, reveal intent. The face lies easily, the feet almost never do. They're the last part of a person to fake anything, and the first to leak what they actually want: to stay, to leave, to connect, to escape. Watch any conversation from across a room. If two people are truly engaged, their feet point at each other. If someone's mind has already left, their words might stay polite, but their feet have angled toward the door. This is deep-wired body language, the kind you don't rehearse, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's how you read a room before anyone speaks, whose feet turn toward the powerful person, who's secretly desperate to leave, who's only pretending to listen. And it runs in reverse, a weapon as much as a lens. Aim your whole body at the person you want to include. Turn your feet and torso toward them. Full body attention feels chosen in a way eye contact alone never can. Look at their shoes, read their personality. People curate their words. They rarely curate their shoes, and that's where the truth hides. Not fashion, rhythm. How a person moves through the world. Notice the pristine pair placed carefully by the door versus the beaten ones scarred by early mornings and errands. Notice rain boots on a dry day. That's someone who plans ahead, who braces for what others ignore. Notice worn soles on expensive shoes. How they spend and how they maintain are two different stories, and the gap tells you who they perform as versus who they are. Bright sneakers under a quiet posture is a contradiction worth studying, and when someone shows up in shoes clearly wrong for the setting, a wedding, a hike, it's never random. It's either a message or a boundary that overrode the message. None of this is announced. It's all offered, data leaking from a part of the outfit people forget others read. Use the shoes as an opening clue, not a final verdict. Notice the shoes, then ask. The clue starts the conversation. Their answer gives the real reading. Lean in and they lean too, the edge of seat pull. Your body speaks a language people obey without translating, and one of its clearest words is the lean. Sit back, relaxed, and you broadcast distance, mild disinterest, a person keeping the conversation at arm's length. Shift forward, elbows toward your knees, and you send the opposite. Engagement, hunger. This matters. And here's the exploit. The other person feels it before they think it, and mirrors it. Lean in and, moments later, they lean in too. Their voice drops, their attention sharpens. The whole exchange tightens into something intimate, all triggered by a movement neither of you named. The mind reads posture as sincerity. Someone who physically moves closer must care more, and we reward that perceived care with our own openness. This is why therapists lean forward at key moments, why the skilled salesperson tilts toward you right as the pitch turns personal, why the person who wants something from you keeps closing the physical gap. It manufactures the feeling of connection out of pure geometry. Close the space slightly and pull their attention with you. Lean in a few centimeters at the key moment, then pause. The body closes the distance before the words ask for attention. Sit diagonally, not head-on. Sit directly across from someone, and without a word, you've framed the conversation as a confrontation. Two people facing off, a table like a border between them, eyes locked in a way the primitive brain reads as challenge. Everything you say inherits that tension. Now shift. Turn your body to a slight angle, a diagonal instead of a face-off, and watch them unconsciously mirror you and soften. The subconscious barrier drops. You're no longer opponents across a line. You're two people beside each other, looking at the same problem. Same words, completely different reception, because the body decided you were safe before the ears did. This is why therapists arrange chairs at angles, why the hardest conversations go easier side by side, why interrogators choose confrontational positioning on purpose when they want pressure. Direct facing intensifies. Diagonal relaxes. It's a dial you can turn without anyone knowing it exists. Change the angle before you try changing the conversation. Sit on the diagonal and put the problem beside you, not between you. Geometry can turn confrontation into collaboration. Turn the chair slightly toward them. Before a single word, your body has already told someone whether they're being welcomed or held at a distance, and one of the loudest signals is the smallest, the angle of your chair. Picture someone slumped away, phone in hand, angled toward the exit. Now picture you quietly turning your chair a few degrees toward them. Not dramatically, just enough to face the conversation. One arm resting open, attention undivided. Watch what happens. The phone goes down. Their posture shifts to meet yours. The tension melts into ease, all from a movement you could measure in inches. The mind constantly reads orientation as a verdict. Are you turning toward me or away? And turning towards someone even slightly reads as respect, interest, presence, an unspoken invitation they answer without deciding to. This is why therapists arrange the seating, why negotiators angle in to reduce friction, why the difference between talking at someone and being with them can be a few degrees of a chair. It's influence that never sounds like anything, because it makes no sound at all. Turn the chair toward them and put the phone away. A few degrees can say, "You have me," louder than a paragraph. When nervous, help someone else. Anxiety is a spotlight that turns inward and won't shut off. Heart rate, racing thoughts, self-judgment, all of it feeding on your attention. The fastest way to break its grip isn't to calm down, it's to aim the spotlight outward. Help someone. Fix the stranger's name tag. Answer the lost person's question. Do one small, useful thing for another human, and the internal storm quiets, because the mind cannot fully obsess over itself while it's engaged with someone else's need. That shift tells the body a specific thing. I'm not in danger. I'm useful. And usefulness is incompatible with panic. The nervous energy doesn't vanish. It gets a job, redirected from spiraling into something that steadies you. This is why performers reset by focusing on the audience instead of themselves. Why the anxious person who starts serving others suddenly finds their hands stop shaking. It's not distraction, it's purpose. And purpose is grounding in a way that trying to relax never is. Redirect your nerves into one useful act. When nerves spike, become useful. Solve one small problem for someone else. Purpose gives anxiety a job and steals its spotlight. Laugh slightly before your joke. Laugh softly right before your joke, and people laugh with you before they've even heard it. The pre-laugh is the smallest setup there is, and it does most of the work. "I think this place uses sarcasm instead of salt," said with a half smile and a little pre-laugh, and the other person laughs for real, not because the joke was brilliant, but because you told them it was safe to. The tiny laugh before the punchline is permission, a signal that says, "This is meant lightly, come laugh with me, don't misread it." It removes the risk from the moment, and people laugh far more easily when the risk is gone. This is why the pre-laugh warms a room, diffuses tension, and makes a mediocre joke feel like a shared moment instead of an awkward gamble. You're not laughing at your own joke, you're building the laugh together, handing it a soft landing before it arrives. Comedians do it. The person diffusing a tense meeting does it. And underneath the warmth, It's a small piece of emotional steering, deciding for the room how they'll feel before they've even heard the line. Cue the room's laughter before the joke fully lands. Add a soft pre-laugh before the line. It signals play, lowers risk, and lets the room join before the punch arrives. The 90-minute sleep hack, wake up unstoppable. Waking exhausted after 9 hours isn't bad luck, it's bad timing. Sleep doesn't run on hours, it runs on cycles, roughly 90 minutes each. Light, deep, dream, reset. Wake mid-cycle, torn out of deep sleep, and your brain is drugged with grogginess, no matter how long you were down. But wake right as a cycle closes, even with less total sleep, and you surface clear, sharp, ready. It's the difference between slipping out of a theatre as the credits roll versus being dragged out mid-scene. Here's the mechanic. Take the time you'll fall asleep, add 15 minutes to actually drift off, then count forward in 90-minute blocks. Set the alarm for the end of a block, never the middle. 5 cycles is 7.5 hours and feels like a reset. 6 is 9 and can feel worse if you land wrong. This is the rare cheat code that costs nothing and works tonight. Most people fight their own biology every morning and blame themselves for the fog. Time the alarm around the cycle, but keep total sleep non-negotiable. Count sleep in roughly 90-minute blocks, then protect total hours first. Rhythm can sharpen the wake-up, deprivation ruins the trick.